4. Administrative structure and governing philosophy. 4.1. The satrapy system and central control. The satrapy system, the cornerstone of the Persian administrative model, was a pragmatic solution for holding an unprecedentedly vast geographical area under a single authority. Each satrap was responsible for collecting taxes, establishing courts, maintaining an army, and defending against external threats within their region. While members of the Achaemenid dynasty or close relatives were generally preferred for satrap appointments, locals were sometimes selected as well, a practice that made it easier for local populations to accept central authority when they felt governed by one of their own. Despite their extensive powers, satraps remained directly accountable to the king. Hostages were held at the palace, and satraps could face royal scrutiny at any moment. Inspectors known as the King's Eyes and King's Ears traveled throughout the empire, reporting on satraps' activities, tax collections, and administrative decisions. This dual oversight system, combining satrap bureaucracy with independent royal inspection, provided both decentralized flexibility and firm central control simultaneously. One of the most striking features of Persian rule was its tolerant attitude toward the local cultures, languages, and religions of conquered peoples. In stark contrast to the Assyrian Empire's policies of forced exile and mass killing, Persian governance allowed local elites to hold administrative positions, permitted documents to be issued in local languages, and supported the rebuilding of local temples with state funds. Every community that paid taxes and maintained order was largely free to continue its religious rituals, economic practices, and social organization. This policy reflected not only a moral choice, but also a highly rational political calculation. Winning the loyalty of subjugated peoples was far less costly and far more sustainable than ruling through constant oppression. 4.2. The legal system and the army Persian law was a creative blend of empire-wide central norms and local customs. The king served as the ultimate judge and the supreme embodiment of justice, while daily legal affairs were handled through local courts. Legal documents prepared in Elamite Aramaic and other regional languages preserve traces of this multi-layered legal structure to this day. Although no comprehensive written law code was compiled, various legal decisions and court records point to the existence of a systematic normative framework. The Persian army was remarkably multi-ethnic, reflecting the vast reach of the empire. Alongside the elite Persian and Median warriors who formed its core, the military incorporated Lydian cavalry, Egyptian naval units, Indian elephant corps, and Arabian camel riders. The elite infantry, known as the 10,000 Immortals, was the most celebrated element of the Persian military, a force kept perpetually at full strength, immediately replenished whenever numbers fell, and entrusted with both royal guard duties and the vanguard of major assaults. The imperial navy, bolstered especially by Phoenician, Egyptian, and Ionian sailors, had grown into the dominant sea power of the Eastern Mediterranean. 5. Culture, art, and architecture. 5.1. Persepolis. An empire written in stone. Persepolis stands as one of the most magnificent architectural achievements of the ancient world, not merely a capital city, but a sweeping manifesto inscribing the ideology and universal sovereignty of the Persian Empire in stone. Begun by Darius and completed under Xerxes and Artaxerxes III, this colossal complex rises on an artificial terrace hewn from a natural rock formation. The reliefs adorning the walls of the Apadana Palace depict ceremonial scenes in which delegations from all 22 satrapies present gifts to the king during the Nowruz celebrations. These depictions are invaluable historical documents in their own right, recording each people with their distinctive clothing, offerings, and physical features. The Indians present elephants, the Babylonians bring fine textiles, the Armenians lead horses, the Egyptians carry bull figurines. All delegations are shown calmly and respectfully cued, a visual statement of the empire's aspiration to portray the world as an ordered, harmonious whole. The architecture of Persepolis reveals an extraordinary synthesis of cultural traditions. The bullhead column capitals echo Mesopotamian art. Lotus flowers and papyrus motifs in the reliefs are drawn from Egyptian aesthetics. The fluted column shafts reflect the influence of Greek architecture. This synthesis demonstrates that Persian art was not passive imitation, but a creative act of blending diverse traditions into something wholly original. Burned and destroyed by Alexander the Great in 330 BC, the ruins of Persepolis are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the most significant archaeological sites on Earth. 5.2. Language, Writing, and Multilingual Administration. The language policy of the Persian Empire was shaped along pragmatic lines, a direct extension of its governing philosophy. Old Persian was used for official inscriptions and royal proclamations, while Aramaic, a Semitic language already widely spoken across the Near East, served as the administrative lingua franca of the empire. Elamite continued to appear in treasury records. Babylonian remained the language of legal documents in Mesopotamia. This multilingual framework was both a reflection of the empire's cultural diversity and a practical tool for effective governance across vast distances. The most significant of all Persian inscriptions is the Behistun inscription, in which Darius recounts the origins of his dynasty, how he seized power, and the rebellions he suppressed. Carved high into a sheer cliff face in present-day Kermanshah province, Iran, it is written in 3 languages: Old Persian, Elamite, and Babylonian. Copied and deciphered between 1835 and 1847 by British officer and linguist Henry Rawlinson during a perilous ascent, the Behistun inscription played a role in unlocking cuneiform writing comparable to that of the Rosetta Stone for Egyptian hieroglyphs, opening the door to the entire written heritage of ancient Mesopotamia. 6. Economy, trade, and social structure. The economic structure of the Persian Empire rested on regular taxes collected from the satrapies. According to Herodotus, each satrapy was obligated to pay an amount proportional to its economic capacity, the Indian satrapy contributing the highest sum, while some regions offered goods or services in lieu of gold or silver. Royal treasuries, especially the vast vaults of Susa and Persepolis, accumulated immense wealth over the Achaemenid centuries. The staggering size of the treasure seized by Alexander the Great when he captured Persepolis is testimony to the systematic scale of this accumulation. Trade was another vital engine of the empire's prosperity. The extensive network of the Royal Road and its secondary routes linked the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean trade world. Darius ordered the construction of a canal connecting the Nile to the Red Sea, the ancient precursor to the modern Suez Canal, greatly facilitating maritime commerce between Egypt and the Persian Gulf. Standardized weights, measures, and coinage provided a reliable and predictable framework for market transactions across this enormous integrated economy. The Persepolis Treasury Archives offer uniquely detailed insights into the organization of labor within the empire. Lists of workers from diverse trades and ethnic backgrounds, along with records of their wages and assigned projects, have survived in extraordinary condition. These workers received their pay in grain, wine, or silver. Crucially, evidence strongly suggests that those employed on major construction projects were paid laborers rather than slaves, a detail that underscores just how modern and complex the Persian economic system was by ancient standards. 7. Decline and collapse of the empire. 7.1 Internal contradictions, palace intrigue, and satrapy crises. Following Xerxes' defeats in Greece, a gradual but irreversible decline set in across the Persian Empire. The most visible symptom was the intensifying cycle of palace intrigue and dynastic power struggles. Xerxes himself was assassinated in 465 BC by Artabanus, the commander of the royal guard, neither the first nor the last such event. In subsequent reigns, successions became increasingly violent. Power contests among court women, eunuchs, and senior military commanders produced chronic instability at the very center of the empire. The growing autonomy of the satrapies was another concrete sign of weakening central authority. During the Great Satrapy Revolt in Anatolia in the 360s and 350s BC, multiple satrapies rose against the central government simultaneously. That these rebel satraps sometimes turned on one another revealed an empire increasingly collapsing under its own weight. Egypt repeatedly broke free of Persian control during this period and had to be reconquered each time. On the diplomatic front, Persian gold was deployed to stoke rivalries among the Greek city-states, an acknowledgment that what could not be won on the battlefield might be purchased through intrigue. 7.2 Alexander the Great's conquests. The blow that ended the Persian Empire came not from the northeast, but from an unexpected direction, the west. Alexander, the son of Philip II of Macedon, was a young commander of undeniable genius, who had made his kingdom the dominant force in the Greek world. In 334 BC, he crossed the Hellespont and invaded Persian territory. After defeating the Persian forces in Anatolia at the Granicus River, he swept through Lydia, Phrygia, and Cappadocia. At Gordion, his act of cutting the legendary Gordian knot with his sword became a symbol of his reinterpretation of the ancient prophecy that whoever untied it would rule all Asia. The Battle of Issus in 333 BC was the decisive moment at which Darius III, commanding in person, saw his army destroyed and was forced to flee the battlefield, abandoning his family to capture. Despite peace overtures, Alexander pressed on. He conquered Egypt and founded Alexandria before delivering the final blow at Gaugamela in 331 BC. Darius escaped once more, only to be murdered by his own satraps near Ecbatana in 330 BC. Alexander then set fire to Persepolis, partly as symbolic revenge for the Persian burning of Athens, partly as a deliberate act of imperial closure. What is most striking is that Alexander did not simply destroy the Persian Empire. He sought to inhabit and transform it. He adopted Persian court dress and ceremony, retained Persian nobles in key administrative roles, and organized mass marriages between his Macedonian officers and Persian noblewomen. These policies provoked deep unease among his Macedonian commanders, yet they also reveal how profoundly Alexander's vision of a universal Hellenistic empire was shaped by and indebted to the Persian model, that preceded it. 8. The lasting legacy of the Persian Empire. After the fall of the Persian Empire, different dynasties ruled over its geographical boundaries and administrative inheritance. The Seleucid kingdom arose in the eastern regions divided among Alexander's successors. The Parthian Empire that followed inherited Persian administrative traditions, governing Iran from the 3rd century BC to the 3rd century AD. The Sasanian Empire, founded in AD 224, explicitly cast itself as a revival of the Achaemenid tradition. Its rulers bore the title King of Kings of the Iranians and non-Iranians, and kept Persian cultural identity vibrantly alive until the rise of Islam. The satrapy system was adopted under different names and with modest modifications by the Seleucids, Parthians, and Sasanians alike. Even the Roman Empire's provincial model, the Byzantine theme system, and the Abbasid Caliphate's regional administration bear traces of the Persian satrapy heritage. Multilingual administrative practice, tolerance toward local religions and cultures, long-distance postal networks, and standardized currencies were all passed forward as elements of a governance model that proved both regionally adaptable and universally influential. The Cyrus cylinder is today displayed at the United Nations headquarters in New York, revered as one of the ancient precursors to the modern idea of universal human rights. Persepolis, Pasargad, and Naqsh-e-Rostam are protected under UNESCO World Heritage designation. As one of the founding pillars of modern Iranian national identity, the Persian heritage continues to animate the country's literature, architecture, traditional ceremonies, and political discourse. Nowruz, the Iranian New Year, a tradition unbroken across millennia, remains one of the most living expressions of Persian culture, celebrated with joy from Iran and Central Asia to the Balkans and the Indian subcontinent. Conclusion: the Persian Empire, not only the greatest political organization of its time, but one of the most remarkable civilizations in all of human history, continues to command our attention and admiration. The 2.5-century arc from the day Cyrus the Great reimagined a small Persian kingdom with extraordinary vision to the final fall of Darius III, before Alexander the Great, constitutes one of the most compelling chapters in the entire story of humanity. The empire's enduring legacy reaches far beyond its military conquests. Its tolerance for different cultures, religions, and languages, the administrative ingenuity of the satrapy system, the transformative impact of the royal road on communication and trade, the emphasis on human dignity enshrined in the Cyrus cylinder, the visual grandeur of Persepolis, and the sophistication of its multilingual governance all reveal the Persian Empire as a civilizational project of extraordinary depth and ambition. It was built not only with the sword, but with intellect, tolerance, and organizational genius. The modern world continues to debate whether different cultures and civilizations can coexist in peace. In that ongoing conversation, the experience of the Persian Empire offers one of history's most instructive lessons. By holding dozens of different peoples under a common political roof, not through oppression and forced assimilation, but through a self-regulating system of governance that respected local identity, the Persian rulers found a fascinating ancient answer to the problem of pluralism that many societies still struggle with today. Far from perfect, this model represented a remarkable achievement for its era. To understand the Persian Empire, therefore, is not merely to understand the past. It is to see the present and the future through a deeper, broader, and more humane lens.